Jordan, you ever been to this Curry Boy?
I have not. I've heard really good things though.
You look like you'd be a fan of the Curry Boy.
I'm not a fan of curry, so that's why I've kind of steered
Mm.
clear. But I mean, it's basically just barbecue, right? They just kind of try to differentiate from every other barbecue joint.
Right. It's barbecue that they put curry on.
Yeah.
Do you see there? See what they did? It's barbecue, you see, like regular Texas barbecue. And then they put curry sauce on it. That's different.
And then,
And then
and then,
then they put that shit in a box and they bring it to you. Huh?
I'll try some of that cream corn though.
Show me a business that does that any better than the Curry Boys.
what about the sausage? What about
Oh,
the
you-
sausage boys, Harry?
I bet you would like to know about the sausages.
Would. Yeah.
You look like the type of person
Oh,
that's into sausages.
Jordan, you should just start doing this. Man, we've talked to each other a lot today, haven't we? I think we need an office.
All right. Let's do the thing. We're gonna do the thing that does the thing. Are y'all into doing things?
all about it.
I love things.
I love things.
Is this the Brock Wagner?
Tis.
Hello, Brock. I'm Harry
how are you?
Schuhmacher. Good to see you. We got Jen and Jordan here on the line. Welcome to
Hi,
BeerNet
everybody.
Radio. So, Brock, I'm so glad. I was looking forward to having you on our little show because you won't remember this, but we actually met when we were, I think, probably both in our 20s. It was the mid 90s, right after you had started Saint Arnold, and I worked for Houston Distributing. I was kind of the young sales guy, and they were like, "Hey, you know about craft? Do the meeting with the new Saint Arnold," and so that's where we met. And I can't believe that we're both still in this game.
Well, it beats the alternatives out there.
No, right?
Still
I mean,
having fun. So
yeah, because you were in banking. You know, I'm sure we'll get into it, but one of the coolest things, obviously, this is Brock Wagner, by the way, founder of St. Arnold's Brewing in Houston, started in, I want to say 94 or
that's
90.
correct.
Okay. And has grown to one of the larger craft brewers and very popular in Texas. And one of the things I thought was so cool, because I've been following it, obviously, is when you bought the like the school food depository in Houston near downtown there and converted it into a brewery. Is that right? Am I saying that right?
Yeah. So this was not our original location.
Right.
But yeah, we bought our current building that I'm in right now in 2008, and it was the HISD Frozen Food Warehouse. It was originally a paper bag company, and then in 1960 it was bought by a company called Zero Foods, and they turned it into a frozen food warehouse. They later decided that Zero Foods was perhaps the worst name ever for a company, and they changed their name to Cisco.
Yeah.
And that seems to have panned out for them.
Yeah,
So
I've heard.
Cisco's original building.
Zero food.
Wow. That
What do you got? I got Zero Foods.
Yeah.
is Zero Foods.
I don't know if this was a joke, but my dad said that one car named itself Nova, and didn't sell.
Oh, no go.
Yeah.
I've
I
heard
get
it's
it.
an urban legend in Mexico. Yeah.
Okay. That makes more sense. My dad tells lots of bad jokes.
Oh,
My work dad and my real dad. So,
jeez. Whatever. All right. Well, Jen, what kind of questions we got for Brock? 'Cause
Yeah.
this
I
is a
used
big-
to live in Brock's neighborhood too, and I had a couple of Girls Pint Out events there that completely sold out, and we had a good time. I don't know
Yeah,
if you
that-
remember that or not.
I do. I
That was
do.
fun. That was fun. Girls just descending on the brewery. We took it over, a sea of pink, but it was a lot of fun.
It was funny because when you walked into the beer hall, the pitch was noticeably different than normal.
Just a little higher, right?
Yeah.
More fervent.
Oh, you
But
know
those
where
are
she's
good.
going. What you can hear it from a mile
Yeah.
away.
It's true. It's true. Well, yeah, no, I just want to kind of hear about how the year to date's been going, but I just want to clarify, you guys still have a relatively small footprint, even though you're a top 50 craft brewer, right? You don't distribute much outside of Texas at this point, do you, or do you?
No, we're Texas and Louisiana.
Okay.
And I tell everybody that my long-term goal is to sell in Texas and Louisiana. So
There you go.
world domination is our approach. But
And Louisiana,
Louisiana is actually pretty small for us, but I also point out that Louisiana is closer to us than Austin is.
Oh yeah,
right.
I guess so, huh? Yeah.
I mean, Louisiana's just East Texas, pretty much. I mean, they don't like it when you say that, but it's kind of true.
It is.
But I mean, yeah, the distance between Louisiana and Houston, and then trying to go to El Paso. I bet you. I mean,
Oh,
good
yeah.
Lord, might as well just go to L.A.
Yeah.
Well, the halfway point between Houston and LA is El Paso. But El Paso, I think, is slightly closer to LA.
Jeez. Big state.
Well, Brock, tell me what you're seeing in craft this year, because, like the BA economist Bart Watson has some pretty dire predictions, but I think you guys are doing pretty well where you are right now. But what are you seeing?
I like to say we're building share.
Building share.
We had a pretty good year last year. Certainly we were positive, so that was that's where we say building share. I think we were up like 2% last year. This year we're up. Our trends are better than that. I think as a company we're up about 10%, maybe a little north of that. I think it's about 7% off premise and about 25% on premise.
Yeah.
So we're really seeing on premise come back nicely this year.
Well, that's good. So what's driving that? Is it, I mean, I know you guys have a lot of like lighter drinking styles, but you also have a lot of IPAs at this point, right? So what are you seeing there?
So our cart continues to grow. We came out with that in 2015, and it has been positive every single year, and seems to be continuing to do that, which knock on wood. Okay, there we go.
Concrete.
We came out with Banger IPA, which is a hazy imperial IPA this year. That's had a really strong launch so far. So that's been helping our numbers quite a bit. We even had kind of a little bit of a sleeper late last year in Tarnation, which is, I don't even stylistically what you call it. To me, it was a little bit like 1995 craft beer.
Huh.
Big malty, 9% sort of strong ale barley wine. And it's been performing nicely. It's not going to be one of our lead brands, but it's still growing. And Lawnmower holds in there. Our seasonal beers, they've had a really good year this year. And, that's been year in, year out, one of our strongest brands is our seasonal line.
Yeah, we see that newness at retail. And are you guys kind of keeping the lid on pricing, or how are you feeling about the consumer's threshold there?
That's certainly a concern. We had 2 price increases last year, which I don't remember ever doing that in the past 29 years, having 2 price increases in a year. It may have happened, but certainly not recently. And even with those price increases, we didn't really keep up with the cost inputs that we've seen, even though we are seeing those moderate some. But we crossed the $10 a 6-pack in the Texas market, which I know a lot of other markets have been above that. Some crossed it years ago, but for us, that's a tough price point, and always concerning when you're going out to the customer. And the customer, I think we're definitely seeing that people going to the grocery store, and a basket of goods that used to cost them $200 is costing them $250, and they're a little more sensitive to price. So it is something that's on our minds.
Yeah. Do you have any like single serve larger formats that like for C-stores that they can trade down into? Because I know that's been kind of a hot trend lately.
Yeah, so our 19.2 business has been up strong. It's funny, I was looking at some numbers, like our 16-ounce business has gone down to almost nothing, and our 19.2s has been growing nicely, especially a C-store, but grocery also. We're also seeing venues are swapping out, moving from the 16-ounce to 19.2.
Interesting. What do you guys have for Brock?
Well, you were talking about, or Jen brought it up. It has been a couple of years, couple challenging years for craft. Do you have any thoughts on what's kind of ailing the segment over the last couple of years?
It's been such a weird time. And I've lost all sense of time with the pandemic.
Yeah.
But I feel like grocery stores were expanding their cold boxes, their craft cold boxes for just years and years. We just kept getting more feet at H-E-B and Kroger. And now I think that trend is going the other way. And I think that's benefiting us in a sort of perverse way, because some of the smaller crafts are losing distribution. But we are, we're holding on to the distribution that we have. And so there's less choice, but we're a larger percentage of it. Mm-hmm. So I feel like that at least in our market is something that we've benefited from.
Yeah. And do you kind of see that happening for the whole kind of Texas craft landscape? The larger, more established craft are kind of filling out the cold box, and then the smaller ones are kind of going back to the own premise tap room style.
So I've been sort of surprised. Like, Shiner and Karbach, their numbers have been trending down. In fact, really the only ones that have been sort of beating the trend have been, of course, New Belgium. I think, Lone Pint with their Yellow Rose has been doing well, but part of that was they switched their package from a 4-pack to a 6-pack, and their price point came down quite a bit. So I think they're seeing some nice growth from that. But it's a popular beer too. So it's a little bit of a mixed bag. I would have expected to see some of those other brands doing better than they are. The fact that we're up 5+ points better than they are on trend is very encouraging for us.
One of the things that I've admired about Saint Arnold is that it's been really consistent growth, and not through distribution necessarily. Obviously, I mean, you've always been in Texas and in Houston strong. You made a conscious decision to stay in your backyard. So my question is twofold. One is, how important is Houston to your entire business? And then secondly is, why have you stayed close to home?
Well, when I started the brewery, my two passions have always been brewing and beer and building community. And I find that beer is a wonderful conduit for building community. In fact, I'm much more communal after I've had a couple beers. But I think that feeling that we need to be able to connect with our customers is critical. And when you go farther afield, it becomes more and more difficult to build that community and to connect with the customers the same way. We did a little experiment. Was it about 7 or 8 years ago when we expanded into Florida? And my theory was, well, let's see how this might go. Florida, to me, culturally and climate wise, was very similar to Houston and the Gulf Coast. We're both part of the South, but both have our own identities separate from the South. And both were, Florida was a relatively undeveloped craft market when we started to move in. Now, I will say that from the time we interviewed with distributors, first, there's about 5 craft breweries in the state. By the time we started distributing, there was 35, which quickly went to 50. So it was an interesting intellectual experiment. And my takeaway was, it is really hard for us to translate that same community, 800 miles away from the brewery. And that reinforced our basic philosophy of let's stay close to home. Let's keep doing what we do better. Let's keep building community where we are. And that's long-term continues to be our goal. And honestly, I still believe that there is a lot of runway for us in the Texas market.
Yeah, it's funny. I was just talking with Andy Thomas, who's head of the high end at AB now, and he was kind of saying that's their strategy, right? They're going to the tap rooms and they need to own the community and own the community. Now, when you say it, it's probably a little different than when AB says it, but all of that to say, I'm curious, do you still get along with the Karbach guys now that they're owned by AB?
Well, honestly, most of the Karbach people I knew aren't at Karbach anymore.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm trying to think if I know anybody who works at Karbach.
Well, David Graham was there for a while, right? But he's not there anymore.
Yeah, no, he moved. So they eliminated pretty much all of their marketing and sales people. And David Graham is at Trogs now.
Yeah.
So yeah,
still friendly, but not.
Well, I don't know anybody there.
Yeah,
so they're kind of not
such a fascinating story. Go from being distributors to craft brewers. You just don't see that too often. Hardly ever.
No, they did a great job, building it and selling it. So
yeah.
What about the rest? Like Lone Pint and that sort of thing. I mean, is the craft community in Houston, like at this point at the stage of craft, are you guys kind of like really competitive, or are you genial? Because there was a time when craft was sort of genial, and then the elbows got a little sharper as the segment got tougher, right?
Oh, I think it's still very genial.
Yeah.
I think we have a great community. On some level, we're certainly competitors. We're going after the same limited number of taps. But I mean, when we run into each other, we're very friendly, and we all like each other.
Yeah.
And I think most of the craft world is just in sheer numbers of breweries, not volume produced. So much of it is really tap room focused. That they're not really competitors to us, and we're not really a competitor to them per se. We do have a pretty large presence with our beer garden that we have, and that's a super important part of our business. We really had a goal of creating this destination. I wanted to create the best beer garden in the country, a world-class kind of experience for people. And to me, that it connects us to the community. When people come to Houston, everybody says, hey, you need to go to Saint Arnold. And that's not just for beer drinkers. So I think that kind of connection in the community really helps us not just connect to people, but create new customers.
Because you're a landmark in the city, period, right? Yeah.
That's certainly our goal.
Yeah.
Well, because Saint Arnold is the patron saint of what, cholera, or patron
brewers, I hope.
Turning
curry, Harry. It's curry.
Speaking of the landscape in Texas, it's the season for new legislative bills, and there's a couple pushes going on. Some DTC beer shipping initiatives, an RTD expansion bill. Do you feel super strong about either of those two? And is there anything else that you'd like to see kind of tweaked here in the state?
Yeah, I've honestly, I was super active in, starting around 2006 in trying to get the on and off premise sales for the breweries. That was really important to me. And I felt really important for the long-term viability of our business, and certainly for the industry. And I think we've seen the effect that that's had in the explosion in the number of breweries here. I am pretty arm's length on this legislative session, and was the previous session too. Lenny and House, he's Lenny Ambrose, our chief marketing officer. He's on the board of the Texas Brewers Guild now. I stepped down after being on it for, I think, 11 years since its inception. But he's been more involved than I have, and I kind of pay attention to it. Here's what I would say. None of these things are going to have a significant impact on our business. I always think that trying to have the laws evolve in ways that make sense for all of us are good, but I'm not nearly as passionate about this session as I was on previous ones.
Gotcha.
Yeah, as for RTDs, you guys don't do a whole lot of Beyond Beer, right? That's not really something you dabbled too much in.
I'm sorry, say that again.
For like the RTDs and the Beyond Beer type of place, guys don't really play in that sandbox, right? Or
yeah, we came out with a seltzer. Was that 2 years ago? And we kind of did it the Saint Arnold way. We all used all natural, real fruit puree. It actually had color to it.
Mhm.
I thought it was the best seltzer that I personally had. We came out with this great branding and marketing. We called it Superfine. We did some really fun kind of social media and ads that we put together. And it was a terrible flop. It, dead on arrival. And
wow.
that pretty much convinced me we'll just stick to our brewing. Now, we do cider, and we did a rebrand on our cider. It's not a big part of our business, but I'd like to be making cider 20 years from now. I think that's a nice little business for us, and it's something that's fun. We have a few non-alcoholics, including a ginger beer, and we've talked about whether or not we do a mule down the road with our ginger beer. It's possible. It's not. We would probably bring in some MGP if we were going to do that and make that as a spirit. And we have a DSP. Yeah, we've been playing around on the side with some whiskey, but this is more for our own amusement than anything else. What is whiskey but distilled beer?
That's right. It takes a lot of beer to make good whiskey. And it takes a lot of vodka to write about beer. These are all facts. These are just
all facts.
Facts that I've tested over the years.
Documented them.
That Jen
That's
and
right.
I have seen and lived through. Yeah.
You've seen in action. No,
Yeah.
Listen, you've been through the trenches. I appreciate it. That's what being in a team's about. The Army. Listen, I love Houston. I was born in Houston. I worked there for almost 10 years and moved away, but that's kind of like when I go to anywhere in Texas, I'm one of those weirdos that goes to Houston instead of Austin. But anyway, the point of that is that I remember y'all have like this not weird, but fun, weird parade with like an old car. Do y'all still
The art car parade.
The art car parade? Can you tell our listeners a little bit about that, how that got started?
Yeah, so the art car parade, it's a part of kind of a people's folk art movement of this is the city of cars, and people started expressing themselves by painting their cars and gluing things to their cars and turning them into kind of these rolling artistic pieces, sometimes with social statements, sometimes just for the beauty. Sometimes somebody wanted to put a bunch of singing bass and other fish on it to create the Sashimi Tabernacle Choir. We have a 1957 Bentley that we tie-dyed and a 1959 Cadillac convertible that we painted. So art cars are a huge part of the community here. The art car parade is March 15th this year. We'll be rolling in it again. It's a lot of fun. And I love Houston, and I actually feel like Houston is quirkier and weirder than Austin is. And
Now it is, that's for sure.
Especially today. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we don't really talk about it that much. We just are.
Yeah.
And, it's
like
kinda
the Heights, the Heights area is really, I used to deliver beer in the Heights, and it was scary at the time. And now it's, I guess, gentrified, but I don't know if that, but it's just, Houston is always evolving. There's not really any zoning. So there's like an office building next to a school, next to a liquor store. It's a different kind of vibe there.
Yeah, it's culturally diverse. Nobody here cares who your mommy or your daddy are. It's just who are you, and everybody takes everybody at face value. And I find it's very refreshing. And I'm a huge Houston booster. So
Yeah.
I love the city here. My first 3 months, I came here to go to college and never left. And it took me a semester to kind of get acclimated. But once I got acclimated, it got used to the fact that there's giant roaches that fly at you.
Yeah.
Get past that little detail.
That's why I moved away.
I'm from Louisiana, right?
Actually, I had to come back to the provinciality of San Antonio. Houston was too open. I needed more comfort.
Well,
Anyway.
San Antonio is a great town too.
It is. It's a great little big town.
Yes.
Well, Brock, thank you so much for spending time with us this afternoon. It was fun to break bread or whatever. I just you know what? You're one of the OGs. You are the OG. I mean, as far in Texas beer, and you're still here and you're still growing. I mean, who'd have thought? Yeah,
well, just like you, my hair has moved from the top of my head down to my chin,
Yes.
and it's all white now.
Yeah. When I spray the Rogaine, I think it went over my head and hit my back.
Call him Harry Le Pew.
Oh, for gosh sake, save your joke.
Nope.
All right, guys. Well, that's it for BeerNet Radio, and we'll see you next time. Thank you, Brock.
Thanks for having me. Cheers.